afternoon, everyone. My name is Gary Voigt. I'm Vice President of Corporate Marketing and Communications here at Baltimore Life. I want to thank you for investing some of your very valuable time today to learn more about Baltimore Life's simplified issue senior life program we call SilverGuard. We're going to be talking about the market and the product today, but we'll also be talking about our very exclusive process called InSpeed with live underwriting. This is where you can complete your application entirely over the phone using our voice signature process. And in a high percentage of your cases, almost all of your cases, you will get an immediate underwriting decision from our call center. We'll be talking about that as well as a paper process that we do have to submit business. So if you're new to Baltimore, let's talk a little bit more about the company. The company's been around since 1882, and we do manage over $1.15 billion in assets. We manufacture and distribute life and annuity products and distribute those products to our agents in 49 states and the District of Columbia. The only state that we do not operate in is the state of New York. The company is very focused on the middle market, and so are our agents. So our market is focused there. Our products to address the needs of the middle market are also focused there. The Baltimore Life Companies, as you see in our corporate signature, is a mutual holding company here in Maryland that does really allow us to retain our independent nature. We offer what we feel are some very high-touch agent services. One of the phone numbers that I hope you keep in your contact is our agent services line. That number toll-free is 877-533-2468. Agent service is kind of your one-stop shop here at Baltimore Life, that no matter what your question might be, no matter what needs you might have, pick up the phone and call agent services. They'll either be able to handle your questions or your requests or get you quickly to the right person in order to get that done. We want to minimize your time on the phone and maximize your time prospecting and selling. We also have a very robust agent website that I don't know if you've had the chance to visit yet, but we'll be reviewing some of the functionality within that website here today. And for more information on the company, you can simply go out to our public website, and that can be found at baltlife.com. So let's talk about the marketplace that we're exploring here today. It is the senior market. And obviously, if you look around, there is a graying of America that continues to go on out there. This is a growing market in that nearly 45 million Americans have reached the age of 65, 6 million age 85 and older, and just over 67,000 of the Americans out there are age 100 plus. Growth projections are showing that this will continue to be a market that's exploding with growth. But the real question is, what do we know about this exploding marketplace we call the senior market? Well, based on LIMRA International studies, they tell us that many of these seniors have limited assets and little or no permanent life insurance. When the study was done, 45% of seniors said they did not own any individual life insurance, and about 35% said they did not have any individual or group coverage. But as you well know, many of our consumers have consumer and credit card debt out there. They're taking out mortgages and home equity lines of credit much later in life. They're obviously concerned about the escalating cost of funerals. And depending on the geography that you're working in, funeral costs for a traditional type of burial can range anywhere from $7,500 to $15,000. But final expenses certainly go far beyond those basic burial costs. And that's why we're reviewing some of these points here right now. There are many seniors out there that are grandparents, but there's a subset of grandparents, about 536,000 age 65 or over, that are the primary caregivers or have primary responsibility for the care of their grandchildren that actually live with them. So there's a huge financial responsibility there that has to be taken care of if they were to die prematurely. What are some of the additional expenses being left behind? Things such as drug bills, nursing home and home health care costs, utility bills, probate and other legal expenses. And that big one for a surviving spouse, of course, is the reduction in Social Security income or pension income. So we know that the market is huge. The needs are very, very big out there for the senior market. And we know that a lot of our seniors haven't adequately addressed their insurance needs for protection for their loved ones and the families that they're leaving behind to cover these needs. So that really brings us to the product solution we'll be talking about today, and that's our simplified issue senior life product we call SilverGuard. There are 3 products in our SilverGuard portfolio. SilverGuard 1 is a level death benefit product, and it's designed and priced and underwritten based on underwriting tables standard through table 4. SilverGuard 2 is a graded death benefit product, and it's priced and underwritten for underwriting tables 5 through 8. And then finally, SilverGuard 3 offers the exact same graded benefits as SilverGuard 2, but it's priced and underwritten for underwriting tables 9 through 12. Now, all the information on these products can be found in our SilverGuard Agent Underwriting and Product Guide, our Agent Underwriting and Product Guide. And that information can also be found in our MobileLink software. And we'll talk more about MobileLink, how you basically can have an electronic agent guide and premium and rate calculator right on your cell phone or other connected devices. So let's get into the product overview so you have a good appreciation for that before we talk about InSpeed and how you can very easily enroll your business and get live underwriting decisions. SilverGuard 1, as I mentioned, is a level death benefit product, and it is non-participating whole life, so there is a guaranteed cash value in these products. We offer a full and immediate death benefit starting at issue for SilverGuard 1. Premiums are guaranteed level premiums, and so are the death benefits. And the pricing and risk selection, as I mentioned, for this product is based on underwriting tables standard through table 4. Issue ages 50 through age 80, and we base our pricing on current age or age at last birthday. The minimum face amount is $2,500 for all of our SilverGuard products and $20 a month. Very difficult not to get $20 a month in premium unless you're at that age 50, female, non-tobacco. But for the most part, $2,500 is the minimum. $25,000 is the maximum face amount for issue ages 50 to 75, and $15,000 is the maximum face amount for SilverGuard 1 for issue ages 76 through 80. We offer a whole life or life pay version for this product. We also have a 10-pay option available. If the client would like to add an additional benefit at an additional premium cost, we have an accidental death benefit rider that can be added. This basically can be added to our SilverGuard 1 life pay version only. And what it provides their beneficiary is 1 times the face amount in the event of an accidental death. So 1 times the face amount would be paid over and above the basic face amount in the event of an accidental death. As I've alluded to, all of our SilverGuard products go through a simplified underwriting process. This means that we're underwriting from the application, information we get from the Medical Information Bureau, as well as a prescription drug database check. The application that we use is Form 7430, or the state-specific version of the form. And there's primarily 2 sections of medical questions that we're underwriting from. The Part 1 questions are your knockouts. You must always get no to Part 1 questions in order to be eligible for any of our 3 SilverGuard products. So your Part 2 questions basically become your qualifying questions. And in order to qualify for SilverGuard 1, the applicant must be able to answer all no to Parts 1 and 2 questions on the application, be within the SilverGuard 1 height and weight limits or build limits, and have an MIB and an RX check that matches up with how they responded to the application. So that's our SilverGuard 1 product. And I would tell you that approximately 84% of our business ends up being SilverGuard 1. SilverGuard 2 is our graded death benefit product, and here's how the grading works. If the client dies in the first policy year, 25% of the face amount is payable. In year 2, 50% of the death benefit is payable, and from year 3 forward, 100% of the face would be payable with death. Now, in the event of a death by accidental means, don't confuse this with an accidental death benefit rider, but a death by accidental means, starting at issue, we would pay out the full death benefit. We would not grade the benefit in the first 2 years as we normally would in a non-accidental death situation, but we would pay the full death benefit out in those first 2 years. Premiums for SilverGuard 2 are guaranteed level premiums. And as I mentioned, the pricing and risk selection for this product is based on underwriting tables 5 through 8. So a client with a few more challenging health conditions would qualify. The issue ages are 50 through 80. Minimum face amount, again, $2,500. but the maximum face amount for SilverGuard 2 is $15,000. We offer a whole life for life pay version for this product, and through simplified underwriting, in order to qualify, the applicant must be able to answer all no to the Part 1 knockout questions and no more than one yes response to a Part 2 question on the application. This assumes the client's within the SilverGuard 1 height and weight or build limits, and the MIB and the RX check that we do matches up with those responses. So let's give an example of this one. Let's say you have a client who is in generally pretty good health. Their height and weight is within the SilverGuard 1 height and weight limits, but they have diabetes. They're an insulin-dependent diabetic. They use, for controlling that diabetes, injectable insulin, and it's under control as a result. So in the Part 2 section of the application, question 2 in Part 2 of the app has to be answered yes. So the best they would qualify for on the application would be SilverGuard 2. When we go out and we do the MIB check, if they've applied for insurance in the past and they had the diabetes at the time, that's probably going to be reported. That's okay to answer that way on our application. When we go out and do the prescription drug database check, we will see the prescription and the fills for additional refills that they're doing to keep that diabetes check under control with the insulin. Again, that's okay to answer that way on the application. So that would be a typical SilverGuard 2 type of case. Now, what if you had a client who was applying for SilverGuard 2 and they had a weight issue, meaning their weight exceeds our normal SilverGuard 1 limits and they're greater than that in terms of weight limits? Well, in our agent underwriting and product guide that I referred to earlier, in addition to the product information, you will also find an underwriting section in that document. In addition to having the application eligibility rules, I call it the yes-no rules for SilverGuards 1, 2, and 3, we also have a height and weight table out there for you. So we have one table that would be the maximum weight for SilverGuard 1, and then the second table is a combined table for the maximum weight for SilverGuards 2 or 3. So example, if the client were 6 feet tall, they could weigh up to 323 pounds and still be eligible under the SilverGuard 1 limits. But if they exceeded 323, they could go up to 353 pounds and be eligible under the SilverGuard 2 or 3 limits. So let's use that example. The client is 340, 6 feet tall. They're beyond the SilverGuard 1 limit, but they're in the SilverGuard 2 or 3 range. Now, because they have a weight issue, the application eligibility rules change a little bit. They now would have to answer all no parts 1 and 2 questions on the app in order to qualify for SilverGuard 2. So the easiest way to remember that is that if you have a weight issue, you basically lose the chance to give us one of those yes responses in Part 2. Let's look at SilverGuard 3. SilverGuard 3 offers the exact same graded benefits as SilverGuard 2. The only difference is that the pricing and risk selection for this product is based on underwriting tables 9 through 12. We still have a guaranteed level premium. Issue ages are still 50 through 80. Minimum face amount still $2,500, but the maximum face amount for SilverGuard 3 is $10,000. We offer a whole life for life pay version for this product, and through simplified underwriting, in order to qualify, the applicant must be able to answer all no to the Part 1 knockout questions on the app, and no more than 2 yes responses to Part 2 questions on the application. These answers line up to the fact that the client also must be within the SilverGuard 1 height and weight limits and have an MIB and an RX check that matches up with how they responded on the application. So what if you did have someone applying for SilverGuard 3 and they go beyond those SilverGuard 1 height and weight limits and they're now in that SilverGuard 2 or 3 range? In this case, they would have to answer all no to Part 1 knockout questions and no more than 1 yes to the Part 2 questions on the application. So again, to reinforce that, if you need the detail, go into the underwriting section of the Agent Underwriting and Product Guide. And in addition to the app rules, the height and weight tables, you're going to find a lot of additional information out there to help you with your field underwriting. So what are some common features for all 3 of our products? Well, all our premiums are gender-based. Also, we have non-tobacco and tobacco premium rates for all 3 products. We offer you, our agents, a full commission on the entire premium, including the $60 policy fee. We also pay you the same level contracted first-year commission rate for all three of our products. Now, the reason this is competitively significant is that many companies, as you get into the second tier, that table 5 through 8, or third tier, table 9 through 12 type of product, they actually start reducing the commission scales because they're going to a higher risk level product. We don't. We pay you the same level contracted first year commission rate for all three of our products. Premium mode. It depends on how you're going to submit your business. If you're using our paperless process, InSpeed with live underwriting, we have 3 premium modes available, and they're all electronic fund transfer. So it's EFT monthly, EFT semi-annual, and EFT annual. Your first and future premiums are paid on an EFT basis. I will tell you that about 98% of all of our premiums, no matter whether it's InSpeed or paper, are paid on an EFT monthly basis. If you're going to use a paper app to submit your business, premium modes available include monthly bank draft or monthly EFT, and then we have 3 billed modes of premium, billed quarterly, semi-annual, or annual. Another common feature for all 3 products is our $1,000 cash draft feature, and this is a very significant competitive feature that's of benefit to the beneficiary. Here's how it works. After a policy has been issued and it's in force for 2 years and it's beyond the contestability period, we turn around death claims generally in about 5 to 8 business days once we have the paperwork. But there are going to be times when the beneficiary isn't ready to file their claim. You know when that happens. But they need a little bit of cash. They got surprised by the bill from their grandparent or whatever, and they're the lone survivor. So inside of our policy, you will find a cash draft form, and if completed and taken to the local bank by the named beneficiary, Ultra Life will advance a $1,000 check to that client, that beneficiary, I should say, prior to the total claim being processed. And once we do get the rest of the paperwork for the claim, we would just deduct that $1,000 against the payment that was made. So that is the $1,000 cash draft feature, and it's automatically included in pricing for all 3 of our SilverGuard products. So one more thing before we leave the underwriting side. As I mentioned, we have a very robust underwriting section in our agent underwriting and product guide. You can also see the same information using our MobileLink software. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please pick up the phone and call again that agent services line, 877-533-2468. You'll find that if the agent services rep can't answer your question, they'll let you talk to an underwriter if need be. And we're one of the few companies out there that give you that type of capability. So let's touch on the sales and marketing side a bit before we get into the InSpeed process, because I mentioned earlier that we have a very robust agent website out there. And on our agent website, we have product toolkits set up for every product that you're personally contracted for with us. In those product toolkits, you really find everything you need to sell and market that particular product in that particular marketplace. These are just a few things, and a very few things that are in the toolkit. We have our agent underwriting and product guide, or the agent guide. You can print that, save it as a PDF, or order one from us. We have our 4-color client brochure that I would recommend you order from us. Very nice, heavy stock 4-color pieces. And then, as I've talked about, we have our MobileLink software. Please copy this one down as we're looking at it. mobile.vaultlife.com. That's a URL address, and when you get to that site, if you're on your phone, and I'm typically going to use this on a phone or a smart tablet, you want to save that URL link as a link to your phone, so that when you open up and you're looking at all your other apps on your phone, you'll see a Ultra Life ship icon. It says MobileLink, and when you click it, it's going to take you right to that site. You're now directly connected to our systems, and what MobileLink will appear as is basically like having an electronic agent guide in the palm of your hand. You'll be able to review the product information, the underwriting guidelines, and more importantly for you, a rate and value calculator, so you can quickly calculate rate and values. What you'll also notice that in addition to offering this for SilverGuard, we offer the same thing, and you'll see it when you get to MobileLink, for our 2 single premium products, our Generation Legacy and single premium whole life product. So MobileLink, I think you're going to find, is a great substitute for having a paper agent guide, and it'll give you all the information and calculation tools you need to be successful working with SilverGuard. Out in the product toolkit, you'll find sampler mailers you can use, pre-approach letters, customizable marketing flyers that you can customize online with your contact information, phone scripts, our complimentary memorial planning guides, whether you want to order from us, you use the fillable version that you can download online. We have our Secure Solutions Presenter software, which is basically like having an electronic point of sale storybook to present our products and other financial concepts. And then we have our printable application and forms package. We'll talk more about this, but this is going to put you in a position to make sure that you have all the forms that you need for submitting your business. So to find all that, again, go to the agent website and click on one of the product toolkits that, in this case, SilverGuard, that you're going to need to work with. So now let's get into InSpeed. Baltimore Life is not new at electronic applications. We did our first electronic application, and we called it InSpeed, way back in 2002, March of 2002. So we've been doing this for many years now, and this process just continues to become better and better. There's a major corporate initiative that we're over halfway through now that we're going to be extending InSpeed and taking it to a whole new level so that really all of our major products will be able to be enrolled using this type of process. Whether you want to use a call center to complete the app or you want to do it on a connected device. But the live underwriting element or the automated underwriting element is real. You know, you'll be able to immediately get an underwriting decision on your cases. And that's what makes InSpeed so powerful. It's a one-stop shop type of process. You and your client are going to work together with our well-trained tele-interviewer or call center rep to complete your app in about 20 to 23 minutes over the phone. When we complete the application, you're not keying in anything. We're doing all that work. We're collecting all the signatures using a voice-recorded signature process. And as I said, we provide live underwriting decisions, and I'll show you how that works. Since we're offering immediate underwriting decisions, you're going to find that as long as we have the ability to draft the premiums immediately, we're also going to be paying you in the next commission cycle. So we pay commissions for our independent agents here at Baltimore Life twice a week. You could be writing a case on a Monday, getting paid on a Tuesday. You know, it's that quick and easy. So no paperwork. In virtually every situation, there are a few, and we'll talk about those later, where some paper may need to be sent to us in order to complete that case, because it could be an outstanding requirement on a state-specific basis. But I think you're going to love the process. Over 85% of our applications for SilverGuard come through the InSpeed with live underwriting process. Agents love it and have for years. Those statistics have always held true that most agents decide they want to do a paperless app. So what I'm going to do now is take you through about 5 screens of detail of how the InSpeed process works. And then I'm going to walk you through a visual understanding of how InSpeed works by showing you what it looks like from the call center's perspective. So you can really start applying what you've learned in a visual type of way. So how do you complete an application in 20, 23 minutes over the phone with our call center? It's one key word: preparation. As I mentioned, you and your client are going to be working together with our call center rep to complete this app. But before you call the call center, the first thing you want to do is go to our agent website, inside that SilverGuard product toolkit, and go to the printable application and forms package. When you're there, you'll answer a couple of quick questions, one of which is this an InSpeed case? And if it's an InSpeed case, here are the forms that are going to be presented to you to print or order from us, however you'd like to do it, in order to prepare to complete it through the paperless process. The first form are a set of instructions. How do I do an InSpeed case? What's the phone number to call? What are the times to call? What are the prep steps? The next form is an application itself, the Form 7430 or the state-specific version. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, hold it. You said this was paperless. Why do I need an application? Well, now the application will actually be used as a worksheet, something that you're going to prepare to do the interview at the call center. All the information on the first page of our application is information you, the agent, must collect from your client in advance of the call. because that's information we're going to be asking you. The health question, the bank information, the replacement question, and a very well explained automatic premium loan question are all questions that we're going to be asking of the client. So obviously you want to make sure, just because you have to pre-qualify the case, what the answers are going to be to those health questions, right? What the client's state of health is. And if the client is confused about any of these questions on the app, you want to help clarify it for them so that when they get on the phone, they can answer these questions on their own. So that's a big, big part of your pre-qualification and your prep steps to do an in-speed case. The next form that's going to be produced for you to be provided to the client in some way is our notification and disclosure statement. These are all the same disclosures that are on the app itself that the client agrees to. Now, if you're in a face-to-face mode, this form, the 7640, the notification and disclosure statement, will print out and you can hand the client and review with them the disclosures. If you're in an in-speed case where you're not with the client, you're doing what we call a telesales process, a non-face-to-face sale, this form either has to be emailed to the client or verbally reviewed with the client over the phone. But the client must either be provided with or hear these disclosure statements prior to the call. But you're going to have to verify that in order to do a voice-recorded signature. What about replacement? Replacements are state-specific driven in terms of whether the form should be filled out or not. In the high majority of situations, you're going to use the NAIC replacement disclosure form 7692. Some states say that this NAIC replacement form needs to be completed if the client has existing life insurance or annuity, regardless of whether or not they're going to replace it. Other states say the form only needs to be completed if the client's actually replacing insurance. If you're unfamiliar with your state laws, our product toolkit has it state by state and what those laws are. But even if the form is required, we complete that form as part of the call. We'll get the answers to the questions from the clients, we'll get their voice signature, and we're in good shape there. Now, there are there's a certain requirement though that you, the agent, have in order for us to complete the form over the phone. And that is you must either, again, provide the disclosure statements that are part of the form of the client in advance of the call, or verbally review those disclosures that are part of that form with the client prior to completing the call to the call center, because the client's going to have to agree that they heard or read those disclosures prior to the call. Now, there are certain state-specific situations where paper could be involved, and this is rare, but it could happen. If you're actually replacing insurance in the states of Pennsylvania, Florida, or Arkansas, those three states have state-specific product replacement forms. Those forms are a little bit longer than the NAIC form. They must be completed this time in paper, wet sign, and then just simply email or fax to our new business center. This is considered an outstanding requirement. We cannot release the contractor commissions until that is done. So if you're in that situation and in that situation only, that must be complied with. The last state-specific scenario is if you're writing SilverGuard, which is a simplified issue, guaranteed values product only, in the states of Pennsylvania or Maine. Those two states say that if you're selling a non-illustrated product that offers guaranteed values and rates, then you must, in fact, complete their state-specific product disclosure form. In Pennsylvania, it's Form 1589, and in Maine, it's Form 7060. Those forms, unfortunately, get a little bit more involved with premiums, face amounts, cash values, cost indexes, those type things. That form must be completed in paper, wet signed, and again, sent to our new business center because it is considered an outstanding requirement. But if you're not operating in any of these states or in these situations, this is an entirely paperless process. So what are some other additional advantages of InSpeed with Live Underwriting? First of all, SilverGuard is a non-illustrated product, so no signed illustration of any type is needed. We illustrate products on our Mobile Link software. We have downloadable Excel files to give you the same calculator tools. We have rate books that you can do them manually, calculate rates and values, but it's a non-illustrated product. InSpeed, you can't miss completing the application the right way. Everything is going to be completed with the InSpeed app. We're going to collect all the information. There is no incomplete applications. The entire call is recorded, so what you say, what the client says, what our call center rep says is entirely part of the recording. We also capture our voice signature process using the same recording. We offer now something called a pivot process, which means that if you apply for SilverGuard 1 and you thought the client would be eligible for SilverGuard 1, but we find something in our live underwriting process that tells us something different, and maybe they only would be eligible for SilverGuard 2, we can pivot right there in a live mode to the SilverGuard 2 product and without worrying about issuing the policy with an amendment or anything like that. We'll show you that. And finally, in our live underwriting process, well over 90% of our applications are approved live right there on the spot. The only situations really that you would get into is that if you're writing an in-force Baltimore Life policyholder that has insurance with us, that case will need to go to underwriting for additional look-see to make sure the client is within the limits of our what we call stacking rules for simplified products prior to us making a final decision. But if you're not writing a Baltimore Life policyholder, I would tell you nearly 100% of the time, you're going to get an immediate underwriting decision. So here's an overview of the process. We have two different types of agents that are selling for us out there. We have agents that are selling in a face-to-face mode. And then as I mentioned, we have agents that never see a client. They work in a call center. They have a regular source of leads coming in, and they're outbounding those leads and selling, pre-qualifying, and then ultimately enrolling that business with us through the InSpeed process. When they call into the call center, no matter what your method of selling is, we're using the same InSpeed process. We're going to talk to you. We're going to talk to your client and collect the information we need. Behind the scenes with the client's authorization, we're going to get the data we need to look at in a live mode from the MIB as well as the prescription drug database check. If the tele-interviewer, who is a very well-trained person in underwriting skills, finds that what the application looks like in the answers, let's say the client answered all no, and what they see maybe out there at the MIB or the RX database level, they see there's something conflicting with those answers, that tele-interviewer is going to do live follow-up questioning with the client to make sure that we get clarity and ultimately get the right answer. And that's how we're doing live underwriting. We'll show you that in a moment. During the call, we're going to be validating your 9-digit Baltimore Life agent number, so make sure you know that. We also, at the end of the call, will give you a policy reference number, which ultimately will become the policy number on this case. We do an existing search of our data files to determine if the client's ever been insured with us before. But at the end of the call, again, we're going to give you an underwriting decision, and we'll talk about those in a moment. You, the agent, will have the opportunity that if you want the policy mailed directly to the policy owner, we will do that, or send it to you for personal delivery. So in the instructions, again, that are part of the printable application and forms package, all this information I'm going to talk about next on the call center details is there, including the phone number, 888-368-9678. Our call center hours are Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., as well as on Fridays, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. These are all Eastern time. It's very important, as we talked about, to not only complete your sales process in advance of calling the call center, but your medical pre-qualification process. Make sure you know your agent number. Make sure you, the agent, have collected all the information on the first page of the app, because that's information we're going to ask of you, the agent, to give our call center rep so we can key it in. Make sure your client is prepared to answer independently the answers to parts 1 through questions in parts 1 through 3 of the app, the replacement questions, a very well explained automatic premium loan question, and the bank information to set up the EFT. Make sure we have that payment information right to draft the premiums from a checking or a savings account, and I'll show you how that works in just a moment. No coaching of the applicant during the interview. The applicant must be able to answer questions independently on their own. They can't be coached by the agent, the client's friends, or family members. And the last thing is, if there is going to be a different owner or payer other than the insured, and that's rare, but it can happen, that person or persons will need to participate on the call that day with the client and yourself in order to complete their portion of the application. So with this, I'm going to now take you through more of this visual approach to looking at InSpeed from the call center's perspective. You can hopefully be applying some of the information that I've shown you here and talked about here today. So once you're ready to go, you've done all your prep steps we've talked about, you're ready to call 888-368-9678. You'll introduce yourself as an agent representing Bolts for Life, and the call center rep will introduce themselves as being with the lead sales processing representing the Bolts for Life Insurance Company. ESP, as they're fondly known, or Elite Sales Processing, has been a contracted tele-underwriter for us for many years now, and they do live underwriting not only for SilverGuard, but for our asset transfer product, or single premium product that I talked about. They're going to verify who they're talking to that day. They're going to, for recording purposes, validate today's date and time and get your permission to record the call. Next, they're going to be talking to you, the agent. And we'll just start with Jason, and I'll role play with myself here. Jason, what plan is the potential insurer applying for today? You'll simply say SilverGuard 1, 2, or 3. Jason, do you wish to apply for this coverage with me today using our call center? Yes. After the application process is completed, we'll ask for your verbal acknowledgement of all statements made during the application process. If you have any objections to Bolts for Life accepting your signature electronically through voice recording, no objection. Very important on this one, Jason. Did you provide the notification and disclosure statements related to the SilverGuard product to your proposed insured? That was the importance of either providing or verbally reviewing with the client those disclosure statements, right? And you must say yes here. The client's going to have to verify that later on. In what state is the policy owner located in? Alabama. In what city? Mobile. Will the proposed insured complete the application process with us today by way of a conference call? And if you're face-to-face, that would be a no, because it's face-to-face. If it's a yes, that client who's on a three-way call, if it's telesales, you're not with them face-to-face, you're doing this by way of a conference call, that client who you're working with needs to be on the phone from the very beginning to the very end, just like you, the agent of record, need to be on the call from beginning to end. Next, we're going to be asking for your 9-digit Bolts for Life agent number. We'll verify that, and if you are splitting the business with another agent, we can split that business as well. Next, we're going to be asking you, the agent, the client's date of birth, what base amount you're applying for that day for SilverGuard, what's the premium mode, and what's the client's gender, and in the past year, has the insured used any form of tobacco products? At that point, we're going to validate back to you the premium that you would have already sold and quoted, and we just want to make sure we're all on the same page with you. Next, we're still talking to the agent. We're going to get from you, Jason, the client's name, address, phone number, email address if they have one. Was the applicant born in the United States? Yes or no? And if they were, what's their state of birth? If they were not, what is their country of birth? What's the client's height and weight? What is their occupation? If they're retired, say retired. If they work, give us an occupation. If they do work and have a work phone number, provide us with that. And finally, what is the client's 9-digit social security number? Now, if the client's a legal immigrant, and we would have to get their 9-digit legal immigration number instead, but we do need one or the other, the social or the 9-digit legal immigration number. Next, we're going to ask you, is the insurer going to be the owner of the policy? Usually they are. Is the insurer going to be the premium payer of the policy? Normally they are. If they're not going to be the owner, for example, we'll now collect from you the name of the owner and the additional information from the application that we need from the owner. Keeping in mind that if there's going to be a different owner other than the insured, that person will need to participate on the call. And yes, you, the agent, must have either provided or verbally reviewed with the owner the disclosure statements on this application. If there's going to be a different payer, same thing. We'll collect now from you the payer information if it's other than the insured. And same information you see on the app. Again, payer's going to need to participate on the call later on. We're going to need to get their voice signature. And yes, the payer, you must have provided them with the disclosures related to setting up the EFT with their bank. So assuming normally we don't have a different payer or owner, those screens never appear. So now we're moving on, talking to you, still the agent, and asking for who Carol, your client's name. Carol is going to name as her primary beneficiary. We'll collect the name and relationship for the beneficiary. And if there's going to be more than one, we'll collect up to 10 primary beneficiaries. We can have those benefits at death paid out in proportionate shares or disproportionate shares. And if disproportionate shares, we'll get the percentages there from you. Next, we want to know who the contingent beneficiaries are, and again, get name and relationship for each and the proper percentages. So at this point, we're finished with the agent's portion of the call up front. We'll bring you back on the call later to go through the agent statement questions and give you the underwriting decision. But now we're on to the client. So if you're in a face-to-face mode, you're either going to hand the phone to the client. If you've elected to use a speakerphone, obviously the client's there, but please, if you're using a speakerphone, please make sure that you're all very close to that phone where the speaker is and the microphone, because this call is being recorded. And if we're having a hard time hearing you or the client, we're going to need to ask you to pull it off of speaker so we can hear it properly, because it gets very frustrating, obviously, if we're having to repeat questions and we can't get a proper recording. If you're in a telesales environment, Carol, your client has been listening to you the whole time provide information. Now you're going to listen to her complete her portion of the app. So here we go. Carol, the next section is for you on this application. You're going to be asked some questions during the application process. Please be sure to answer them truthfully and accurately to the best of your knowledge. Also, it's important for you to understand that no agent of Ultralife is authorized to advise you that any inaccurate answer to a question is acceptable. Carol, do you wish to apply for coverage with me today using our call center? Yes. After the application process is completed, we'll ask for your verbal acknowledgement of all statements made during the application process. Carol, do you have any objections to Ultralife accepting your signature electronically through voice recording? No objection. Carol, have you received or has the agent read to you the form containing the notification and disclosure statement, which included information about disclosure to the Medical Information Bureau, applicant pre-notice, and important tax notices for the policy owner? Yes, Jason gave me a copy and reviewed that with me, or Jason verbally reviewed that with me by phone or emailed it to me. Whatever he did, he got it to me. We're good. So the next thing we'll ask Carol is we're going to get permission from Carol in order to get the data we need in real time from the Medical Information Bureau and the prescription drug database. She will give us a yes to authorize us to do that. And within milliseconds, we're now looking at that data on a second screen. After we finish that piece, we're going to also get permission from Carol with this statement. Carol, do you authorize Elite Sales Processing to release and discuss your prescription drug database information and medical history with you in the presence of your agent? Because we could be talking in a live underwriting mode, and probably will, about real data about their personal medical history, they need to give us authorization that you can be present when we're talking about that. And that's usually not a problem. Just make sure the client's prepped, and that goes very smoothly. So Carol, now we're on to the application questions, by the way. On the policy you've applied for, you can add the automatic premium loan option for no additional premium charge. Once the cash value is accumulated, the automatic premium loan option would allow Ultralife to take a loan from your policy's cash value on your behalf. Pay a premium that is due should you fail to make a premium payment. This could prevent your policy from lapsing. Would you like to add the automatic premium loan option? That's a simple yes or no. So at this point, our tele-interviewer, at their discretion, may repeat certain information you, the agent, provided earlier in the call. The only reason they would do this is if they think they misheard you, they obviously see a keystroke error or whatever, but it's some of those vital bits of information you see on the top of the screen. They will always repeat a review with the client, the product they purchased, the name of the product, the face amount, premium, and the mode. So at this point, we move on to the medical question. And now we will ask the part one medical questions, the knockout questions, as we call them, the part two questions on the application, and the part three questions on the app. This is where the live underwriting really begins, because on one screen, that tele-interviewer is looking at the MIB and the drug pharmacy information, and on this screen, they're completing the app. So if the client says no to all these questions, but over on the other screen, the tele-interviewer sees that the client is taking a particular prescribed drug, they may say something like, Carol, we see here based on confidential information we've received that you're taking and prescribed and refill on a regular basis XYZ drug. What are you taking that for? Oh, I take that for my heart. Okay. And they might ask a few follow-up questions and say, well, Carol, the question I'm going to repeat to you applies to that health condition that you're being treated for with this medication. So let me repeat that question again so you can give a response. And they'll repeat the question that it would apply to so Carol can actually give us the right response to that question. And that's how live underwriting is essentially working. We're looking at live data on that person and application information to make sure we have it all right, and that's why we can make decisions on every case. So what happens, as I said, if you applied for SilverGuard 1 and you were pretty sure based on how you pre-qualified that the client was going to be a SilverGuard 1 candidate, but based on this live underwriting, we found out that, hey, they might not really be a SilverGuard 1 candidate, it might be SilverGuard 2. In this case, we could use the pivot process. So it is when you apply for one SilverGuard product, but we determine through live underwriting that they're eligible for something else. This is a real-time option. Change the product from what you applied for to something else based on that information we get from the app, the MIB, and the drug history. In real time, we can not only change the product, but re-quote based on the new eligible product with the agent's assistant and working with the policy owner. So if you're changing, for example, from SilverGuard 1 to SilverGuard 2, SilverGuard 2 has a higher per thousand premium cost, you may decide that the client needs to reduce the face amount in order to afford this. And you and the client will work with us to get that done and make the change in real time. Product changes are made immediately on the application with no amendments required. No amendments are going to be needed here because we're doing all this before we capture the signature. The change of product, though, will occur before we collect signature. That's the way we can do it without amendments. We'll then, once we make the change in plan, premium, face amount, all the changes we're making, we'll go back to the application where we left off and finish it. So that's how Pivot works. These are some screenshots of how that transition happens. Once we finish the medical questions, the call center rep, the tele-interviewer may say, Mrs. Jones or Carol, based on the answers provided to the medical question, prescription drug history, the original product is not available, but our, let's say, SilverGuard 2 product is, our graded benefit product. And then they'll ask the agent, you know, Anthony or Jason, would you like to discuss this product with Carol in advance of us making these changes? And they'll say, no, we're pretty ready. We kind of thought that, it might be something else if she wasn't eligible for SilverGuard 1. So at that point, we flip back into the screen that will allow us to make these changes. The first thing we do is we make the change to the right product. Let's say in this case, it's SilverGuard 2. The tele-interviewer will give us an indication as to why this change of plan is being made for our information. What is the insured's date of birth? We already know that. We know the age. It hasn't changed. But if for some reason you applied for SilverGuard 1 and the accidental death benefit was added, we would confirm with the client and you that it's not going to be added for SilverGuard 2 because the ADB rider is only available for SilverGuard 1, the life pay product. Here on the next line in gray is where we can either keep the base amount the same or we can reduce it. Now, if you applied in SilverGuard 1 for $25,000 and you're being moved to SilverGuard 2, we know the maximum base amount for SilverGuard 2 is only $15,000. So you may not have an option to automatically adjust that base amount. But usually you're going to be in a situation where you can decide to leave the base the same or reduce it in order to get the premium right. The premium mode we assume is going to be the same. The gender is obviously the same. The tobacco question is the same, the response to it. And then we're going to re-quote back to you the premium based on this change of plan or face amount. Everyone will confirm that by us asking a couple of quick questions to the policy owner. Carol, we want to review these questions with you before we finalize the changes. Carol, would you like to proceed and apply for this new product? Yes. Carol, you previously applied for SilverGuard 1 Life Pay. You now want to change that to SilverGuard 2, our graded benefit life product. Is that correct? Yes. You previously agreed to a premium of $81.76 monthly bank draft. You now want to change that to $122.85 monthly bank draft. Is that correct? Yes. Carol, you previously requested the accidental death benefit rider. This rider is not available with the SilverGuard 2 product. Do you understand? Yes. So at that point, we're done. We're finished that process. We're finished the pivot, and we move forward. And we're right back where we left off on the application, and that is the replacement question. So we answer the replacement questions, and if the replacement form, the NAIC replacement disclosure form is required, we would complete that with the client. But one of the questions we're going to ask the client, don't forget, is, Carol, did your agent provider read to you the important notice regarding replacement of life insurance or annuities to you prior to the call? Those are the disclosures. It's important that you have either provided or verbally reviewed with Carol the disclosures that were part of the replacement form. We'll get all the answers to the form, and we'll get a quick certification statement read, which becomes the voice signature on that form. At the end of this, we're going to get the final authorization we need from Carol, who in this case we're going to say is the owner and payer, by reading a few final statements. And if there's a different owner other than the insured, we're going to go through that same process with them, because remember, the owner has to obviously get the disclosures and give us their authorization and certification that they've heard those. Now we move on to the bank information. We're going to collect the name of the bank, the city and the state of the branch, Carol's name as it appears on the account, the bank routing number, and the bank account number. The next question, though, is, Carol, would you like to select a future day for us to draft your premium? Well, let's look at that. We have a couple of premium draft options available. Carol can either say, I have no choice of premiums, draft it whenever you will, and we will essentially draft that premium the day we took the application on each day of the month thereafter. But if Carol says, and most people do, I would like to select a special draft day, let's say it's the 5th of the month, we say, well, Carol, yeah, we can do the 5th of the month, not a problem, but is it okay for us to draft the first premium immediately? That way your coverage goes into effect as soon as the company approves your application. She says, sure, you can draft the first premium immediately as long as the normal draft day is the 5th of the month. So here's how that would work. Today is actually November 15th. Carol wants the 5th, but she's given us permission to draft the first premium today. We'll draft that premium today, but apply the premium we took today to a policy issue date of December the 5th. That means that from November 15th to December the 5th, Carol basically had 20 days of free life insurance coverage. We would then draft the next premium on January the 5th and each 5th of the month thereafter. But what if Carol says, yeah, I want to do the 5th of the month, but no, you're going to have to wait for your money. So I'm going to have to delay my draft by 20 days to December the 5th. That means that Carol, we couldn't draft the premium. Carol doesn't have coverage. You're not paid a commission because we don't have premium. And I would tell you this, based on experience, it's a high likelihood that if we wait 20 days to draft that premium, good chance the money's not going to be there. So that's why we have another mode for you, and it's called our day, week of the month option. As you know, most people on Social Security retirement get their checks paid on the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th Wednesday of the month. And if they get paid that day, they have their money. So you can select a draft day aligned to a day, week of the month, let's say the 2nd Wednesday of the month, whatever that might be, and we can set it up that way. So that way you're pretty sure that the money is going to be there. So at the end of that, we're going to, at the end of getting the draft day together, we will actually summarize for Carol the draft process that we're going to use and review with her how her bank draft will work, when the money will come out, when the next draft is going to come out, that type of thing. We'll read a short certification statement to Carol to authorize the draft, and that will become the signature for the EFT. So at that point, we're finishing up the app by getting you back on the phone by answering the agent statement questions on the application. One of the questions is, Jason, would you like the policy mailed to the policy owner? You have that option. We'll read you a short authorization statement. Your yes response will be your signature on the app. At that point, we're going to give you one of a couple of underwriting decisions. It's either going to be approved, it's going to be declined. That might happen 6 to 7% of the time. The case could be incomplete. This happens a fraction of 1% of the time. It's where we go through the medical underwriting, the live underwriting, but the client really won't give us the truth based on what we know to be the truth. We're seeing that they're using heart medication regularly. They're telling us they're not. We can't underwrite that case because, we know it not to be fact. So the case will go incomplete, come back to working with you to see if we can get the right answers. The last scenario would be refer to underwriting. And the only time that would generally occur is if you're underwriting a case on a current client of Bolts for Life that we have to review to make sure they're not violating our simplified issue stacking rules. That, again, only happens in those scenarios, and extremely rare ever that our tele-interviewer can't make a live underwriting decision. So that is the InSpeed process. Now, we do have a paper app process that I want to quickly review with you. And when would you use paper? Well, first reason would be you or the client just wants to do paper. About 15% of our apps still come in this way. What if the applicant wants to backdate the policy issue to conserve age? You can only make that request through a paper app process, and we can backdate up to 6 months, assuming back premiums are paid. If the applicant cannot speak or hear independently on their own, we're going to need to do a paper app. And finally, what if the applicant wants to pay the premium on a direct bill mode, such as quarterly, semi-annual, or annual? That's only, again, available through paper. Now, with paper, we also offer the option only for paper if the client wants to pay the first premium only, on a Visa, MasterCard, or Discover card. That's available only, again, for the first premium. So those are reasons for paper. If you do a paper application, you're going to go to the application and forms package. One of the questions is, how are you going to submit the app? And instead of saying InSpeed, you'll say paper. It'll print out your forms that you need, including instructions, which will give you instructions on how to complete your app, where to send the application to our new business center. Make sure you have all the correct forms. And please make sure when you send a paper app back that you tear off the applicant pre-notice or the conditional receipt. That should have been given to the client. If for some reason you were picking up a check for a semi-annual premium or whatever, please make sure that you send us that live check. So really, that's the process from soup to nuts. We've learned about the market today. We've learned about sales and marketing support. We've learned about the SilverGuard product, the InSpeed process, and our paper app process. But for any reason, if you have questions along the way, please pick up the phone and call our agent services number. That number toll-free is 877-533-2468. On behalf of Bolts for Life, I want to thank you so much for participating in the call today, but more importantly, I want to thank you so much for your business. We know you have a